So I have a client, they're an auto dealership in Southern New Jersey. They had actually been with one PEO for 10 years. So what happens there, like with anything, any contract that you have with a vendor, if you have a contract in place for 10 years and you're not evaluating that and auditing that, and you don't have a professional who's an expert in that area auditing those contracts, what tends to happen is it's a little bit of a death by a thousand paper cuts. A PEO or any company will just slowly start to turn the knobs and the volume up on all the different areas of pricing. So while you don't necessarily feel any of those adjustments, right? Initially, over time, it really starts to accumulate. So you wake up 5, 6, 7 years later, 10 years later, and you're like, wow, how did my pricing get here? And well, you've got a cost of living increase or a pricing adjustment because of size, where they've added a new product and service and passed along another price increase, or they had a bad renewal with their workers' comp or their health insurance carrier, and you've gotten other increases that you might not have deserved because the PEO hasn't managed their risk properly. So there's a lot of opportunities there to look for what I would say lower costs and better solutions. So like I said, I think evaluating the PEO once a year or every other year is very important. For this client, being with the PEO for 10 years, their rates had gone up quite significantly in all areas, whether it's their admin fees, their workers' comp, their state unemployment, and their healthcare insurance. So what I was able to do is go out to market and basically reset all of those numbers at what a PEO baseline would be from a competitive standpoint. So if they've received a 20% increase in their admin fees over 10 years, I'm able to set that back to what a standard book price would be, or even negotiated below that, which would provide immediate relief, right? So let's say you're paying $50,000 administrative fees, and I can get that down to 30,000. That's $20,000 in hard costs. So this one auto dealership in South Jersey, what we noticed was they had a pretty high admin fee for a company their size. They had high state unemployment rates, and they were in New Jersey. So the SUTA rate in New Jersey and the taxable wage base in New Jersey is significant. Give you an example, 1 point of SUTA rate difference in New Jersey equates to $433 of savings per worksite employee. You have 100 worksite employees, that's $43,000, right? So the PEO has the ability to offer and reduce your state unemployment costs. Everybody would like to reduce their tax burden, so you could do that. We also were able to lower the workers' comp costs. What you'll see in a lot of PEOs over time is they'll start to crank up the workers' comp costs, especially if you're not a high risk employer. So if you're starting out with 10,000 in workers' comp, and in a couple years you're up to 15,000. While $5,000 isn't a lot, it's still an increase of 50%. So it's material. And then obviously going out, if you're getting a healthcare renewal every year for 10 years, that is going to compound. And that isn't necessarily always going to be based upon your risk profile. So what happens is when you go back out to the market from a healthcare perspective, you're being evaluated purely on your risk profile, not what your risk profile was when you joined, and then the compounding effect of those 8 to 15% increases over 10 years. So when you go out and you take all those products and services and you go to a new company, a new PEO, I was able to 25, I believe it was 25 employees, in the total savings, hard dollar savings to the employer was about $98,000. And then it was an additional $20,000 in savings to the employees because of the reduced cost of the benefits, because their contribution went down as a result. So, being able to save a client with 25 employees, I think the gentleman who owns the dealership, I think, basically said, he's like, do you know how hard it is in today's day and age as an auto dealership to find $100,000 in savings, especially at my size? I only have 25 employees. I'm a small dealer. So that was real, hard dollar savings that went right to the bottom line for him. And then he got savings for the employees. So he put them on equal to or better benefits, saved them money on the healthcare. They're taking more home in their paycheck. Plus, he decided to contribute even more to the plan as a result of this because he didn't want to assume all the savings. He wanted to pass some of that along to his employees as well. So the combination of that is you get a happy employer, right? You get better pricing, you reset your pricing, you get aligned with a PEO that is a really good fit for you from a service perspective and a culture perspective. And then you get happy employers, better benefits, lower cost, more take home pay. So all around, it's a win-win. It's a huge win for an employer that size.